PR Connections Radio presents this episode of the PR Connections podcast is brought to you by Classy Communications PR and Advertising. Classy Communications provides public relations and marketing solutions for businesses, professionals, and nonprofit organizations. They can deliver the true meaning of your business with press releases, social media marketing, web development, email marketing, book publishing, and much more. Wherever your potential clients are, they can help you connect with them. Visit classycommunications.net to learn more about their suite of services that can help your business stand out from the rest. Classy Communications is your solution for business success.
Hello there, and welcome to the Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III, and this is your host, Jesse Oakley III. Now, the purpose of the Sunday Morning Chat Series is for me, Jesse Oakley III, to interview a plethora of positive people that are making big differences in the community, whether they are entertainers, authors, writers, speakers, athletes, you name it, they'll be right here first on the Sunday Morning Chat Series. And today we have ourselves a wonderful episode with a man of many talents. He is definitely one of the people that you see on a podcast with We Have the Power, but we also have a great musician and artist. So please let me welcome none other than Mr. Brian Gardner. Hey, Brian, how's it going?
Hey, thank you for having me on your program. I've been wanting to do this show for a while.
Oh, my goodness. It's always good to have you here for the Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III. And I have, your resume, it speaks out with the art, with music, with talent, and oh my goodness, I'm looking forward to actually having you here interviewing.
But I'm so shy, Jesse.
Hey, oh my goodness, this is gonna be very fun. Woo! All right, without further delay, let's chat.
Sure.
All right, now you are a musician, you are an artist, right. You have your own podcast, and you are, again, a man with many talents. And what sparked your interest first in music? How'd you get started in that?
This is a crazy story I can tell you very quickly. Some of us who are old, like me, maybe you might even remember the Montgomery Wards. It was like a Sears of the 60s. Oh, yes. There was an ad for a partial drum set for $69. Ooh. I saw that and I just had to get it. I had never played drums before. Of course, I loved the Beatles and was following them. And then I just saw that and I had to have it. My dad hit the roof, said, I never spent $69 on myself or anything. I said, Dad, nothing costs $69. The second part of that story is very funny. I kept adding pieces to it. It was champagne sparkle was the color, Kept adding pieces to it. And a bass player came over who was a really good musician. He goes, this is your crappy drum set? And I'm like, come on, man, because that was my viewpoint. That's all I had seen. He says, come with me to the music store. I said, why? All the snare drums are going to sound the same. He says, get in the car. So he drove me to the local music store. He goes, hit that snare. And I go, why should I do that? They're all going to sound the same. He goes, oh my gosh, will you just play the snare? I hit that snare once and it was like the full orchestra played. It sounded so good. I worked all summer in the tract on some homes that weren't built yet, doing grunt work. Got myself a professional Ludwig set because he raised my viewpoint. Because that's all I had seen is this one set, So I got to thank him for sure for getting me to get a proper set,
Oh, my goodness. And I tell you what, that start with that and it leads to a band. And could you briefly explain a little bit about your band or part of the band that you're with?
Let me just tell you one other quick story. So when my parents were moving in initially to a town called Pleasanton, I was helping unload and I was unloading my drums and stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, a couple of the kids in the track that wasn't even finished yet goes, look at him. He has drums. He's our drummer. Luckily for me, Creedence Clearwater was the hot band. And it was really, I'd been playing drums for 6 weeks. It was easy to play, very simple drumming. So I could kind of fake it till I make it. So now fast forward, I was in an acoustic band up in Lake Tahoe, my favorite place in the world.
All right.
got really enamored of songwriting because I bought a 12-string guitar when nobody else had any money to buy it from this teacher. Really, really great price. And then when the band broke up, they said, here's your guitar, see you later. And I started fooling around with the guitar, taught myself to play, and fell in love with songwriting. And so then I started my own band called Manzanita.
Ah,
Yeah.
it's really fantastic, Manzanita. And I tell you what, that is amazing that you actually get us the stories from starting off with the drums and the guitars and still lead up to Manzanita. And I tell you, this is just a part of the equation when one speaks about Brian Gardner. Now, there's got to talk about another part of the equation. We had a bit about the music. Now let's go into the artwork. Now, how did you get your interest started in art?
I think it was my grandmother. She was a painter, and she would get the dinner going or whatever for her husband and then go in and paint. And she won some awards at the Pleasanton Fair for her art. And I got very interested in what she was doing with the oils and all that. And then my sister and I, my dad would bring home reams of paper that had something printed on one side, colored paper, whatever. We would just spend hours drawing and stuff, you know.
Oh, yes.
And I think that's where it got started for my grandmother. Now, I want to tell you something real quick. My grandmother was an artist. My mom wasn't. My sister and I play guitar and do art. My son is a DJ, but not really an artist. You know, so I was an artist. My son wasn't. His oldest granddaughter is a fantastic artist. So it just jumped generations like that. Very interesting. But that's, I count my mother now. My mom did a very cool thing. My name is Brian Lee Gardner because her name was Leah. My mom wanted to keep alive the spirit of the grandparents. My brother is Bruce Herbert Gardner, and Herb was Leah's husband. You know, so my mom kept alive, you know, our grandparents. I thought that was really cool. So when I do art, I'm Brian Lee Gardner. When I do my music, I'm just Brian Gardner.
Oh, my goodness. I tell you, we talked about your art. We talked about the music. And I tell you what, for many people, it's like a juggling act because you have podcasts, you have music, you have art, and you're basically juggling like this. And I tell you what, this is one of the challenges actually to juggle from one side to the other side. And now, speaking of challenges, when it comes to challenging being a musician, an artist, a podcaster, and everything else that you possibly can be, Gardner, Brian, what were some of the challenges that you faced in order when it comes to going from one area to the other area?
Yeah, the challenges were having to have a full-time job and yet have to rehearse. You know, people that live in a cubicle, I'm not criticizing them. They'd go, what? You have to play these songs 400 times before you play them live? You know, so I remember working full-time, and every Tuesday and Thursday, I would take my drums in and set them up when we rehearse for a few hours, pack the drums out, put them away, go home, get up the next day, go to work. You know, that kind of challenge is only possible to get through that challenge because you love music so much. With the art, not so many challenges, but criticisms from people. You know, why do you draw that way? Can I share with you something about a famous artist?
Go for it.
You won't believe this. This also inspired me. So when I was in college, I did a report on Monet, the famous painter, Claude Monet. They said, do a report on an artist. So I said, okay, I love Monet's paintings. So I went back into the history files in some book, found a review that was done of Monet. Now, he was a hippie of his own times, because when I hold up my hand, you can see various colors in my hand, but the artists before Monet and the Impressionists, flesh, brown or blue eyes, you know, straight colors. Wow. Monet said, wait a minute, I see gray, green, blue, whatever. So he started painting what he saw. When he did a picture, like, look at my face, there's all kind of colors, right? Yeah, the reviewer, you will not believe what the reviewer said. He said, Monet will arrive as a painter when he stops painting green on people's faces like they're a dead corpse. I couldn't.
Oh, man.
And when I heard that, I didn't agree with Viewer. I said, yeah, I'm going to paint what I see, and I'm going to paint my spirit. Like when I do my Volkswagen art, I don't try to make all the hubcaps perfectly round. I want that aliveness. When I do flowers, you know, I let some of the color drift out of the outline because, I don't know, it gives it something alive. It makes it fun. And that thing on your face right now is what I create with my art. People look at it and they go, wow, that's cool. So those are some of the challenges. The other challenge is when you start your own band, let me tell you, having a band and band members is like a dragon that needs to be fed. You're rehearsing and it's okay. And pretty soon all we're doing is rehearsing. So I was always tasked with being pretty good at hustling gigs, because if you don't have gigs, pretty soon the band members go somewhere else.
Yep.
Because they want to be active, you know.
Exactly.
The other challenge, here's the other major challenge. I'm so glad you asked me this. Again, a person who isn't creative, and I'm not criticizing them, they just maybe are a mathematician or they're a bureaucrat or administrator. When you are an artist, everyone thinks, oh, it's so cool to be a musician and artist, you know. But if I don't do some kind of art every day or every couple of days, I kind of feel crappy. You know, it's kind of like this thing that you have to answer to. Neil Young once said, the reason I have the money, the reason I have the people that I can hire is when I'm writing a song, I'm connected to something and they leave me alone. But most people who aren't artists don't get that draw of having to do art regularly. Or, you know, the other morning I was trying to sleep in and this song kept coming to me. It's like the gods of songwriting. Hey, get up, come on, write the song. You know? And normal people wouldn't either put up with it or wouldn't like it. But it's like, in a good way, I'm addicted to art and music because I've got to do it or I don't feel right. Like I work full time for the family printing business.
Right.
Franklin Printing here in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And yet I still do art and I still am working on getting a band. I've gone through 35 musicians, attitude problems, health problems. You live too far away from me. That's not the kind of music I want to do. Most people would have given up by now. You know what I say, my mantra? They aren't the right people. Because the ones who are with me now are the right people, but I've had to hang in there with a positive attitude. And if you don't have a positive attitude, give up on art and music today. Okay.
Very true, Brian. And actually, the stories I hear from your challenges, it reminds me of something that you have that I noticed, and that was fire. You have that fire, that passion with the art, with the music, and the key thing about challenges is adding wood to the fire and keeping the fire burning. And when you keep that fire burning, it's going to glow, it's going to shine, and it's going to do whatever it possibly can. But if you take the wood away from it, the fire gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And your examples of your challenges reminds me of the fire that you have for that passion that's right there. As long as you keep things burning, then it's going to keep it warm. It's going to keep it light. And again, just keep that. That's what I noticed in you is that fire. And
Right.
I love it.
Yeah. Remember that cartoon thing where there's a devil over here and an angel over here?
Yeah.
The devil is saying, Brian, 35 people, give up. Your band's never going to play live. And this guy goes, no, keep going, Brian. You'll make it. And you go like this, flick. You know, you don't listen to the negative. Because most people would say, Brian, what kept you going? You went through 35 musicians with them criticizing my music, having health problems. I'm sorry about that. Too far away, but they were a good musician. I want to do other music than yours. Your music will never get anywhere, all this stuff. And I just went, do-da, do-da, do-da. Because I know my songs, my original songs are good. I had a 20-something. I did not expect this. I was playing in Henderson for their art days a few years ago. Played one of my original songs, and this little 20-year-old comes up, female, she goes, "That's a really good song. I just wanted you to know that," and walked off, you know.
Fantastic.
But I have that inner drive. Otherwise, I would have given up by now. People have criticized my art too. You know, how come you don't draw the Volkswagen perfectly? Well, take a photograph of it then. My art is not a cartoon way over here that's goofy, and it's not over here perfect. It's right in here. It's which makes people smile. They look at my art and they go, that is so cute, you know. Well, I love doing that to the world. We need more smiles in this world.
We
And can I share one other thing with you that I am super passionate about?
Do it.
And then I'll let you ask a few questions. I'm sorry. You remember I told you I was shy, you know?
Hey, just a little bit, but go for it.
So this is real quick, but I changed the name from the Manzanita Acoustic Band to the Manzanita Acoustic Orchestra because I love empowering people, and saxophone players, fiddle players, mandolin players, banjo players oftentimes cannot get into a band because the band says, "We like what you play, but we can only use you on a couple songs." So they sit home and their wives are going, "Geez, I wish Charlie would get out of the house. He's bugging me." You know, so what's going to happen is I'm going to invite instrumentalists to my house, learn 2 or 3 songs.
All right.
They're going to show up at our performance with their wives, their significant other. "Hey, Charlie Jones is coming up on stage to play sax with you. Give him a big hand," you know. And the wife is going, "Brian, thank you so much for getting Charlie out of the house. Oh my gosh, he was bugging me," you know. And then it's going to become a social thing with all the significant others and wives, you know, sitting there enjoying the music. "Hey, Gary, it's your turn. Get up here, play mandolin," or whatever. And I'm so passionate. I will be empowering musicians and giving them the spotlight, and the audience will be cheering them on, you know, because I leave the A and the E at home, the attitude and the ego.
Oh, yes.
If I tell one of my bandmates, "This is going to be a great song," they don't go, "Oh, he thinks he's so cool." No, they know it's that the audience is going to like that song, and that's where my passion is. Same with my art.
Whew, I tell you, those are truly fantastic. And, you know, you gave some great words of wisdom, some great examples, and I have this next question to ask for you.
Yeah.
There are any of best moments that people have when it comes to art and music. What were some of the more best moments that you had when it comes to your experiences in dabbling in both fields?
I got to tell you one. There's
All
2,
right.
one about music and one about art. I used to play at retirement homes. At 73, I don't want to go back in the retirement homes now because there is a lot of possibility of catching something. You know, it's just how it is. But I went and played at one particular retirement home. I did a 1-hour comedy music thing where I got them singing and stuff. The staff came up at the end and said, "Did you see the lady in the blue shirt?" I went, "Yeah." They said, "Well, we never have gotten her to come to a performance ever." Since I'm not telling you her name, I can speak freely. She was an Alzheimer patient and had to wear a diaper. She had lost control of her bodily functions. They said, "We finally got her to a performance." She was sitting in her a little room, just vegetating, you know. After your performance, she wouldn't stop talking about it. She loved your performance. Now, I'm not telling you that from an ego point. I'm waiting to give you the icing on the cake.
Go for it.
I went away for 3 months, came back and played there again. And the staff goes, "Brian, get over here. We got to tell you something. We've never seen this before." And I go, "What did I do wrong?" No. Remember the lady in blue? Oh, yeah. Well, after your performance, I'm getting chills already. After your performance, she came to every performance we put on for 3 solid months. She wasn't in her room for 10 seconds. And here's what we've never seen before, Brian. This is the part where this starts to leak and the chills, right?
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have to wear a diaper anymore. Doctors would say, "Oh, that could never happen." You know, I was a catalyst for changing another human's life. And the other fellow performers, thank you. After 3 months of going to performances, she got back in control of her body. I will never forget that story.
Wow. Woo.
And the one about art is equally awesome.
All right.
I have a friend in Sacramento. I sent her one of my Volkswagens. I didn't know she loved red Volkswagens. She gets back on a hot email, says, start a business. These are great, whatever. So I did. Every Saturday, she helps the homeless by feeding the homeless vets in Sacramento.
Yeah.
And one lady took a lot of her retirement money and gave it to Debbie to fund their efforts.
Mm-hmm.
So I told Debbie, say, hey, I'm going to send her a couple of my art pieces, So I sent them to her, and Debbie had them in a plain box. Okay. And the lady opened it up, and it was a note saying, thank you for all that you've done for the veterans. The lady started crying because she felt so validated. It was just a few little 2x2, Volkswagen mini canvas magnets or whatever I sent her. But she felt so validated, and she loved Volkswagens too. So those are a couple of stories of things that I'll never forget that I've been able to impact people through my art and music.
Whew, all I can say is just like that. And again.
I know. How could I possibly be in the right place to play for that lady in blue, be a catalyst for her coming to those for all the performers for 3 months, and she did something doctors would say was not possible. She didn't have to have problems like I mentioned anymore.
Whew. That's beyond incredible, man. Oh my goodness.
I feel blessed to have been a part of that creation. Wow.
And happy people, if you're watching out there, it goes to show you what a difference it can make, because you never know whose life you'll change by following your passion and keeping the fire burning. So take the stories from Brian. You never know what differences you'll make, period.
Yeah, I wasn't playing in front of 3,000 people. I was at a retirement home, and that's not to denigrate that performance. But people watching right now go, well, I'm just a musician. I'm just an artist. What can I do to impact the world positively? Get out there and do it, and you will create a story just like mine. I don't care how good of an artist you are or a musician. You'll get better by playing. You'll get better by drawing more. And you will have these kinds of experiences because this is the power of music and art. If you are a musician or an artist, you can positively, by yourself, one person can positively affect this world through the arts and music. Absolutely.
You hit the nail right on the head, Brian. Hit the nail right on the head for anyone who's aspiring to go into music and art. You got to go out there. It's like Nike. Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah, now practice is important. And the other thing is, I'm so glad I went through Toastmasters. This is a hint for somebody else. If you want to be a musician, especially because with an artist, sometimes you hang the art and you're not interacting with people as much as a musician does. But going through the Toastmaster program, I tell musicians who call me up and say, I might like to be in your band. I say, well, let me tell you right now, if I correct you for anything or anybody makes any suggestion at rehearsal, it's only and always going to be in the positive. Not like, gee, you suck. Why are you here? It's like, could you sing a little louder, please? Because I really want to hear your voice. Not, do you always sing low like that? No negative is allowed at rehearsals. No politics or religion. That's another thing. If you're a musician, I believe that keeping politics and religion out of your performances. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to squelch people's free speech. If you're being interviewed on a radio show, yeah, talk about stuff. But when you're performing, people have come out of their home, away from their bills, away from their problems. Have you done a survey to find out what religion everybody is or what their politics are? No. So your job is not to piss people off or to alienate them. No, your job is to be pretty neutral and entertain them. Look up the word entertainer. Now, again, if you want to go on an interview show and they ask you about certain issues, you can talk about it then, because the people listening to an interview are not necessarily coming out of their house to be entertained. It's a whole different thing. True. But when you're performing, and I don't allow any musician that I play with to drink alcohol during the performance or take pot or any other drugs, because I want us all on the same page.
Right.
Now, would you drink if you were in your cubicle? No. Would you drink if you were using a bulldozer during the day? No. So we are working. So no drinking, no drugs. That way we are focused on the audience and having fun. Because if we're having fun as musicians, then that's going to translate to the audience. If you are an artist in a booth, you don't want to sit back like this. Yeah, go ahead, look at my art. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that's my art. Yeah, you want to be, hi, how you doing?
Yes.
Are you looking for a particular, communicate with people. You sit back like this. If I sat like this in my booth, my sales would be crap. Okay. I talk to people and I don't hard sell them. I just go, how can I help you? I'm already known as the friendly vendor. Well, then people are going to come back to you again, aren't they? Rather than, okay, I'm selling stuff. How much money do you have on you? Who's going to come back to that booth?
Zero. All right.
Tell I'm very depressed, right?
I couldn't even know. I didn't even notice, man. Hey, Brian. Now, where could people go to find out more about your art and your music? Is there any type of places they can just actually check out?
Yeah, let's start with the art, because I've got that set up. I'm working on, since the band is being reformed, I'm working on the social media stuff. But the art, they can go to my Instagram page, VW Art Guy, Guy, VW Art Guy. And people, I'm totally open to people emailing me about the band until we get our social media stuff going. B Gardner 2323 at yahoo.com. And I expect people to use that email with manners and diplomacy. But B Gardner 2323 at yahoo.com. If you're interested in where we're playing, until I get my social media stuff in order, you can always email me and I'll let you know where we're playing. And if you send me a nice email, I'll send you a couple of recorded tracks of our music.
See, if you could you repeat that one more time for the people in the back about
Sure.
Instagram and email?
Yeah, B Gardner 2323 at yahoo.com. Do we still have time for one quick idea?
Go for it.
Let me tell you about manners. If I put you in a room with no hand cream and make you do this for 48 hours, your hands are going to be like, ow. If you put some hand cream and do this, you could probably do it if you have as much hand cream as you want, you could probably do this for 48 hours. Manners are the lubricant in human interaction.
Whew.
With a band, in art, when you're manning a booth, when you're manning ahead of a band, manners are so important. I've had musicians say, let me check out your music. And then I say, yeah, get back to me. Let me know yes or no. You can't hurt my feelings. I like my music.
Right.
They go off into inner space. I never hear from them. If you're in a band, the two rules I have that are very important. You have to have a working cell phone that does not say, I'm sorry, the message thing is full, call back later, and you have to have a working vehicle, because if there's a gig, you need to get to the gig. But if the guy says, oh, I need, I've got a wedding finishing up too late, you got to start playing at 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
Right.
I need to be getting in touch with the band members so they don't show up and the wedding people go, who is this guy with a beard, or whatever, And the same way with, I don't work with other artists, so it's more applicable for a band. You've got to use good communication. If someone says a communication, the formula is you get back to them. What time is it? No, you got to go, it's 12 o'clock, or, you got to answer, that's a formula of communication. And if you don't use it, it's like no hand cream.
Wow. Truly fantastic. And
so remember that as a band leader, use manners, you thank people for coming to the rehearsal. One other quick story. I played in Henderson And for the art days or something, I sent a personally written thank you note to the person who hired us. She gets back to me. She's busy. She personally took the time to get back to me. Brian, no one, not one band, but you sent me a thank you note. Today people, I'll just text her. Well, she gets 4 billion texts. It doesn't stand out. If I do this, that finger catches your eye. It stands out just like a handwritten note thanking whoever hired you. They will remember you. They will say, well, if this person's going to thank me, I'm sure they're going to show up early to set up for the gig and everything. It's putting an image out there,
Oh, definitely. Now, another thing I have to ask you is this portion is a shout out portion. And
Okay.
you get to give shout outs to as many people as possible for making your journey, whether it be music, art, or anything else in between. So if you'd like to give a shout out to as many people as you like, who would you like to give a shout out to?
First, my mother, who always supported my art. My dad thought I was going to get into drugs. I don't want to have anything to do with drugs. My mom always supported my art and music. And I had a drum teacher who taught me all kinds of great stuff that has helped me in my music, but in my drumming, he helped. I was wearing 2 shirts of performance because I was playing wrong and using way too much energy. He showed me how to play differently. I could wear 1 shirt. It wasn't even hardly sweaty. Just an incredible guy. Kurt Christian, who was in the band Mesa up in Tahoe, produced in me a love of songwriting. One of the songs that he got from a friend back in the mid 70s, I still play that song today. It's called Dixieland Lady. Beautiful song.
Beautiful.
And also the current musicians, they have busy lives and all that, but they on themselves, I want to definitely shout out to Sarah and to Ailish. They have been rehearsing on their own. And when we came in to do the recording, we talked about the song, we played it once, and then Chris said, okay, let's record it. And we recorded it, no overdubs, just recorded it. We did 4 songs without going, oh gosh, we made a mistake, we have to start over. 4 songs straight through. We've only rehearsed about 6 times together. So, wow, I can't thank them enough for what they've done. And of course, people like the Beatles that are just incredible songwriters.
Yep.
And those are the people that I wanted to shout out and thank.
All right. That's a good group of people to give a shout out to. Now, the last question I have for you for this episode is addressed to my crew, my people, and my fans that watch the Sunday Morning Chat series. And they're called the Happy People. And at the each end of each episode, these happy people are always amazed and inspired by some wise words of wisdom. And you've given a whole lot to the happy people right, as of this episode. And if you could just give one more solid words of wisdom for my crew and my people, the happy people, what would it be?
Here's what I want to say. At one point, there was no Golden Gate Bridge from San Francisco to Marin. Some guy was kicking around in the dirt saying, there ought to be a bridge here. And his friends went, are you crazy, Dave? People would die. It would cost millions. Who's going to design it? Come on, give up. Just keep riding the ferry. And he goes, nope, there's going to be a bridge here. The best piece of wisdom I can tell you, and it's what kept me going through 35 turndowns from musicians, what you have here is not alone. You have to do the work too, but you've got to keep a vision of what you want, and nothing, blinders like the horses, nothing's going to stop you from doing what it is you want to do, especially if it's ethical, of course. But that is what's kept me going. I couldn't offer a better thing. Like even some of my musicians say, well, I don't know if we're going to find a bass player. Yeah, we will. We'll find the right bass player. I don't care if everyone in the planet goes, it ain't going to happen, Brian. Do. I'm not listening. Nothing. The viewpoint I have is nothing is going to stop me from getting this band in front of audiences and earning a good income from my art. And there's tons of reason why I could say, probably won't happen. I don't know if no, you push all that away and you just keep. Now, I think we have enough time. I was thinking about the fact that we need a vocal coach. So I called this guy who recorded a couple songs. I said, we're going to have a vocal rehearsal. And he goes, well, and this was 3 days ago before this conversation, I was thinking about getting a vocal coach. So then I'm talking to Chris on the phone and I said, well, we're going to do a vocal rehearsal. We actually need some help getting our vocals together. He goes, well, I was in a group where we did 5-part harmonies. And so I kind of on the phone, he didn't see this. I kind of went, Chris, would you like to come over and help us with our vocals? He goes, I'd love to. Boom. 3 days before that, I was just thinking that we were going to need a vocal coach. And suddenly it appears. Now, 3 days later, I was going, we really need a PA system. And I called Sweetwater. For about $1,000, I could get a pretty good PA. So Chris was at our recording. He said, do you guys have a PA? I said, no. He goes, well, I have a really good one that I will come to your performances with the PA. I'm not going to give it to you because, I want to run it. I said, it starts here. This will guide you to do the proper work to make what's here a reality. That's how the Golden Gate Bridge got there. It did not get there because everybody said, oh, easy. There won't be any reason we can't do that. It's because somebody decided there is going to be a bridge here. Oh, yeah, but people die, cost millions of dollars, negative. And he went like this. No, the bridge is going to be built.
Oh, my. And that is a perfect bookend to a wonderful episode of the Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III. On behalf of all the happy people out there, thank you for Brian for sharing the wisdom, experience, and the plethora of stories that are out there. This episode is dynamite.
Yeah, and please come see Manzanita play when you see that we're performing somewhere. Come up and say hi. I'd love to meet you. And, it's just, wow. My life is really charmed, but it starts here with a positive attitude. Even though negativity will try to creep in, just push it away. Keep your vision.
And I tell you, keep a vision. That's all up here. And oh my goodness. Thank you again. Thank you for being on this episode of the Sunday
Thank you for having me.
With Jesse Oakley III. And this concludes this episode of the Sunday Morning Chat Series. For more wise words of wisdom, you can go to prconnectionsradio.com. You can go to YouTube and type in PR Connections and check out a plethora of podcasts that are there, including this one, the Sunday Morning Chat Series. But wait, there's more. You can also go to a new YouTube page called Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III. And you can either like, subscribe, and check out the videos from past interviews I've done from 2020, 2021, 2024, and this year, 2025. And this also great, amazing interviews that I had with a plethora of people making big differences in the community. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Sunday Morning Chat Series right here on PR Connections Radio and on YouTube, Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. And until next time, this is Jesse III saying, take care of yourselves and have a good week. Bye.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.